Google slashes Play Store fees with a twist. And this is actually kind of interesting. We've been talking about this for a while, mostly on the Apple side of things. But this is some interesting kind of steps in the right direction.
Yeah.
Google has announced that starting July 1st, 2021, the service fee Google Play receives is being reduced by half, from 30% to 15%. 15% is much closer to in line with a lot of other competing services for the first $1 million of revenue for every developer. Now, this is still terrifying, to be completely clear.
Yeah.
Because if your app takes off at some point and you do have high overhead, losing 15%, I was going to say randomly, but not randomly, right when you cross that line, losing 15% could be horrifying, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. This comes on the heels of a similar cut by Apple, spurred by the ongoing Epic Games legal saga. Google says, "We believe this is a fair approach that aligns with Google's broader mission to help all developers succeed." Yeah, very cool. You're just going to have to make sure that as a developer, you are ready to stomach that 15% loss once you get there. So you're going to have to pay a lot of attention to your income through the Play Store and what that's going to mean for you moving forward. And I'm sure it will be communicated quite openly, but I hope that not just people that read like The Verge are going to know about this. I'm sure they will, but yeah. The most notable difference between Google and Apple's approach is that Google is giving 15% to every developer every year for the first $1 million. That's also a very interesting thing.
Wow.
Because I have been talking about how it is a big hit, but it's not a big hit that's going to just like immediately crush your company the second you get over that dollar value.
That's a really cool big difference. It's kind of like how income tax works, where your first, no matter who you are, your first 20,000 is at a very, very low tax rate, and then it scales up from there, but it doesn't increase your taxes on the first.
It makes astronomically more sense to me because we talked about the Apple approach, and I pushed forward a lot of what I just said of like, you need to be wary of this, whatever. But with the Google one, you need to be wary of it. But if you push the line, the doors of your store don't immediately close if you can't stomach that percentage.
Yeah.
Because you're still making that percentage on the first million. And if you make 50 grand over the million, you're only paying an additional 50% on that.
Yeah.
Or 15. I might have just
15,
said 50.
yeah.
I mean 15. That's just that. Yeah. Makes way more sense to me. I think it's very cool. Google notes that about 3% of Android developers actually charge for either downloading their apps or for digital in-app purchases to begin with, and only 1% of those developers make more than $1 million on that threshold. That is true. There is also a lot of developers on the App Store, which are like, would have been me in high school if I was in high school right now, just like posting random stuff. So those numbers are definitely inflated a bit, but it is, I mean, there isn't all that many companies that are going to run $1 million of revenue through one of the various ways to acquire their product. So yeah, I mean, it's very true. I think this is very cool. I mean, I would prefer if it was just 15% always, but the way they're doing it. Sorry?
You're a little biased.
Oh, for sure. Yes. 100%.
Full disclosure, Luke works for a company that develops an app for...
Yeah. So like maybe my opinion on this doesn't matter as much. But I will absolutely give them credit for the way that they're doing it. Doing it on just the first 1 million thing makes a ton of sense. I could even see if they did a different thing. I don't know what number it would have to be. Maybe it was 5 million or something. But like once you cross that threshold, they were just like, all right, buddy, screw it. You're paying 30 on the whole thing, something like that. I'd even accept that, but just at the very least, making it so that that first transition is smooth is huge.
I was going to say, if anything, I think once you're at like 5 million or whatever, you should be treated like a valued partner and your rate should be lower. I don't think it should be 30% once you're bringing in so much business.
Traditional business works. Yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah. Good point.
It's the middle. It's always the middle class that pays for everyone else because you have to subsidize the small fish, and the big fish, well, they throw their weight around. So I don't necessarily, there's a lot of problems with that system. Absolutely. But if anything, I would think on something like the App Store, it would make more sense. I don't, fundamentally disagree with Epic Games' stance that 30% of their revenue on like $1 billion or whatever is sort of unreasonable for what is essentially a file hosting service. And yes, I'm simplifying. I'm definitely simplifying. But I also think that we only have to look as far as Apple and Google's quarterly disclosures to know that they are immensely profitable in these areas, the Play Store and the App Store, and they could stand to share a little more.
I just think it is so cool that they made that transition smooth, because I mean, the fear that a company would have approaching that $1 million mark, like you'd think as a company, you'd be so stoked. Like, okay, we pushed our revenues on this platform to $1 million. We should have like a company party or something. But instead they're just like, oh God, we're going to lose so much money. And
I mean, there's social support programs that are like that too. I remember talking to my sister about one. She was telling me about it and I was just like, what? So the way it works is basically any money that you make comes straight out of the support check. And I was like, why? And she's like, I don't know, but people that I know, they're just like, why would I bother to work? I get paid literally $0 for like doing casual work to try and improve my standard of living. And just because I'm doing some casual work doesn't mean that I don't still need support, that I'm not still disabled. It just means that, basically what it does is it discourages people from transitioning back into the workplace.
Yeah, I hate systems like that, because not only does it discourage people from transitioning back into the workplace, but it also directly, heavily encourages like illegal practices.
Absolutely.
Because what's the first thing you'd probably want to do? Is work
not declare my income.
Yeah,
exactly.
Immediately.
So then as a taxpayer, I'm sitting here going, wait, so we are incentivizing these people to hide what little income they have out of fear so that they won't pay any taxes, out of fear that what are we trying to accomplish here?
Yeah, like that's just that you're putting a bunch of tape and bureaucracy on something that just needlessly complicates it and makes a bunch of bullcrap happen. It doesn't actually solve any actual problems. It's just so annoying.
Mojo says here about developers of different sizes. The solution is to not let the big fish throw their weight around. The thing is, though, for app developers, even the biggest fish are, they're tuna, okay? They're getting eaten. They're getting eaten by the real apex predators, which are, of course, Apple, Google, Microsoft, etc.
Megalodons.
I think the megalodons.